Good day, everybody, and welcome to 20 Minutes on Ice, powered by the Garage Door Sports Network. I'm your host, Ryan, and in the co-host position, as always, is Nick. We've got a great show for you today, so let's get right to the opening face-off. Today on 20 Minutes on Ice, we're going to be looking at the 4 qualifying series in the Western Conference, looking at what each team brings to the table in those series, and then, of course, we have to provide you with our predictions, whether or not they're right or wrong. We're also going to be looking at the round robin for the top seeds. That's going to play out a little bit differently, approached a little bit differently, we think, by the teams, but we're still going to provide our predictions and look at how each team will be approaching the round robin amongst the top 4 seeds. And then in our final segment, we're going to fire up the randomizer, and we have some sort of game or special segment planned for you. We'll see what the randomizer comes up with. But as I mentioned at the top, we have Nick McVicker in the co-host chair as always. Nick, how's it going, man?
Pretty good, man. I got put to work today by my parents, setting up a couple rooms to get painted, which is always fun in quarantine, technically.
Full honest work day there.
Oh, yeah. Well, that and, setting up for today. But I'm excited, man. We've been setting this up all week. We've been promoting it all over. I've been getting everything ready on the graphic end, and it's just been a lot of fun.
I'm super excited to get going here. I haven't podcasted in earnest in, let's look at 10 months roughly. So enough of yelling at the computer.
At least.
Yelling at the computer and practicing. So it's really time to get down to business, and we're excited for everybody who's joined us to watch or listen on the podcast. It's exciting to have hockey back, too.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah, let's get right into it, man. I'm excited for hockey.
Perfect.
Let's put it that way.
Let's get to the Western Conference qualifying series. Starting us off is probably, for me, the second most exciting series in the Western Conference. 5th seed Edmonton Oilers up against the Chicago Blackhawks. Let's start with the Hawks first and what they bring to the table. I'm going to say right away, what they bring to the table is you're still thinking in the back of your mind, those 3 Stanley Cup championships from the dynasty. You're thinking Taves, you're thinking Kane, and to a certain extent, you're thinking Corey Crawford. And that's, I think, what they bring that experience and relying on those people.
Absolutely. And you look at the stats, and that's exactly what it is. I'm a stat head. You know that, Ryan. Crawford and Leonard have the same number of wins this year for the Blackhawks. Crawford has a .277 goals against average.
Wow.
That's pretty good. A lot of people wouldn't expect that from him, right?
Yeah.
And then you look at the player stats. Patrick Kane leads everything for them. Like it's not even close. And goals, assists, power play points.
He's in this prime.
He's incredible.
Yeah, it probably would have been.
You got to be
years ago. It would have been Taves versus McDavid, but yeah. I think the real matchup here is Kane versus McDavid. It may come down to who can outplay the other.
Yeah. And you look at, then the second would be Taves versus Draisaitl.
Exactly. And I think Draisaitl takes that. I'm not saying Taves is a terrible player. He's he's over the arc. He's on the way down now, which is fine. He's still a fantastic player. But I like Draisaitl in that one. Kane and McDavid, I mean, the theme through all of these is going to be, it's a new season. Everyone's had a fresh start, and I don't think you can really bank on if someone was on a roll or how they were playing March 12th when everything was shut down, because it's been a full off season. Players have had a chance to recharge. It's going to be a little bit different mentally, because I don't think they've had the same reset mentally that they would during a normal off season. So it's all up in the air here, and it really could come down to McDavid versus Kane, or on the other end, Mike Smith, who we've seen be inconsistent, versus Corey Crawford, who we've seen be inconsistent. So it really could come down. But if I had to put my money on it, I got to back Edmonton. They just have the scoring there. They're a younger team. In theory, they should be faster, but they may not be. If I'm putting money down, it's on the Edmonton Oilers.
Oh, I 100% agree. And here's the crazy stat to me, if we're looking team-wise. The Edmonton Oilers finished first in the NHL in power play percentage and second in penalty kill percentage. And if this game gets played at all on special teams, Edmonton will dominate. It's not even close.
That's the Scotty Bowman formula. Take the positioning of your power play, add it to the positioning of your penalty kill, and whoever has the lowest total is the best special teams, which by the sounds of that is the Edmonton Oilers. For me, it's the fact that Edmonton has managed to be on the plus side of their goal differential this year. They were +8 at the shutdown. Chicago was -6. Both teams have a question about defense, but again, if you're looking at McDavid and Draisaitl, I think that could be the tipping point for the Edmonton Oilers. So let's get to the prediction here. It's a best-of-5 series, and I'm going to take the Edmonton Oilers in 4 in a series that could easily be 5.
I'm taking them in 4 in a series that I think could go 3.
Really?
I just think the Oilers are a better team. Even though Chicago won the season series, I just think if a healthy Oilers team goes and plays in Edmonton, because that's the other fact, is that they're actually playing at home. They know the bounces, especially in the play-in round. It's 4 games at most for me, and Edmonton wins this series.
I didn't really I should have thought about that, but the Edmonton Oilers legitimately have the home ice advantage.
Exactly.
And it goes beyond the actual last line change and what have you, and knowing the rink. But outside of the rink and knowing where to park, and that first day isn't going to be confusing. Right. It's just going to be going through the motions. So they may pick up where they left off a lot easier than the other teams.
Agreed. 100%.
Let's move on to 6th seed Nashville against Arizona. This one to me is about as exciting as beige paint, but we do have to get into it. I do like Nashville's goaltending, but I also like Arizona's defense. 187 goals against at the time of the shutdown, and they were on the plus side of the goal differential. So it's really hard to pick here, but I think for Arizona's sake, they need Taylor Hall to come through here, and I really think they need a win here more than Nashville does.
I think Arizona needs Taylor Hall to pretend to be Taylor Hall. He doesn't actually have to play up to Taylor Hall potential. He just needs to get the other team to think that he will, to give players like Connor Garland and Nick Schmaltz a chance to really play well, right? If they can get Hall to be the man that they mark on that top line, those other two can fly around. I actually like Arizona's goaltending situation better than Nashville.
I'm not sold on Kemper. I know he did it during the season, but prior to this, there was no indication that he was going to be what he was this season.
That's fair, and I understand what you're saying, but my thing is that UC Saros has not proven to be a number 1 goaltender. Really, he's a very, very good goaltender, don't get me wrong, but he's never been able to prove that he's a number 1, and Pekka Rinne is another year older, and I just don't have the faith that they know who should be number 1 going into this playoff, right? Whereas Arizona knows Kemper's number 1. He was number 1 all year. He's going to be number 1. Right, and he was probably their best player all year. 222 goals against average. Are you kidding me? Like, the guy was insane.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more on that one.
Right, so that's the only reason that I think that Arizona might have it. And again, we just talked about it in the last series. Talk about power play and penalty kill. Nashville is terrible on special teams. Tied for 24th in power play, tied for 28th in penalty kill.
That's not going to get it done. So you've just convinced me on that stat alone. and Arizona's goals against that, and I'm going to pick Arizona. And one player on the Coyotes that we haven't even mentioned, Phil the Thrill. Like,
I was almost there.
If he was quieter than expected this year. There was supposed to be some magic there between him and head coach Rick Tocchet. So if he can find something here in this shortened playoff run where everyone's coming in super fresh and healthy, I actually have talked myself into really liking Arizona well over Nashville in this one. And I'm going to say, I got to put a number on it. So let's say Arizona in a sweep. I'm taking Arizona in 3 here.
Wow. Okay. I wasn't even taking Arizona in 3. I'm taking Arizona in 4. I think Nashville wins a game, but I think Arizona is the better team. And I said it from the beginning of the season. If you listen to the Garage Door Sports Show, Arizona was a playoff team in my head. Nashville was not. I didn't have Nashville making the playoffs. I had Arizona being the first or second wild card. So I think they're the better team. Phil Kessel this year led the team in power play points. It's hard to do on a young team like Arizona where they have so many young pieces. He did that. He has the potential. He has the pedigree. He'll lead them to the promised land of, actual playoffs.
And one of the questions that's going to come up again a lot in these previews is how many of these teams have used this offseason that's really not an offseason to grow as a team. We're going to be looking, especially in the East, teams like Florida and Toronto, have they grown and learned from their lessons as teams would usually do in an offseason? For Arizona, have they learned from their lack of offensive production during the regular season, and will someone be able to kind of grab everyone and show them the way and be able to turn it on for the playoff push? So those questions will be answered. We got to move on to the next series now, which is the Vancouver Canucks against the Minnesota Wild. I have Vancouver in this one, which we'll get to in a second, but Minnesota, at the beginning of the season, they were talking about Bruce Boudreau's run is over and this team looks horrendous. And I think quietly they turned it around to a certain extent. They're still a low seed, and they've made it based on circumstances and not necessarily earned the spot. But here they are. They tried to trade Parise. That didn't work out. Suter is still kind of their top-end D, but Dumbo was talked about being moved all year. There's just seems to be too many questions around this team, nothing that you can really put a stamp on and a reason why you want to ride this team to victory.
No, and I agree with you 100%, but everyone was ripping on Suter and Parise's contracts forever, and everyone was saying that they're both done. They're over the hill. Parise led the team in goals this year. Suter led the team in assists.
And that's what they're paid to do. So.
And they were tied with Kevin Fiala, who led the team in points for power play points. So they were contributing. They did exactly what they needed to do as veteran players. Obviously, those contracts were ridiculous. Like, we knew that when they were signed. But this team showed up more than people thought they were this year. Now, I don't see them winning this series, and I would like to point that out right up front. I think Vancouver is a better team, and Jakob Markstrom is a far superior goalie to Alex Stalock.
Couldn't agree more there.
So I have Vancouver winning this one in probably 3 games.
I'll lean towards that. I did already take Arizona on the sweep. It's hard to add more sweep predictions, so I'm going to take Vancouver in 4 there. You got to like Quinn Hughes. You got to like Brock Besser. You got to like Bo Horvat. You mentioned the goaltending situation. Vancouver's a young team. There was no reason they should be tired, but now that they've had the offseason, are they a young team coming back energized and ready to go? One of the concerns for younger players coming out of junior or college is that they don't quite understand the grind that the NHL season is going to be. Will this break help Quinn Hughes not get exhausted and take that next step? And I think it will. So
100%.
I agree with you here that Vancouver takes care of Minnesota easily.
We forgot one name on Vancouver. Sorry, we forgot one name on Vancouver. JT Miller,
who's having a phenomenal season.
Tied for the team lead in goals and assists, held the points total by himself. He had an unreal year, and he gets left under the bus because he's got Besser, he's got Pettersson, he's got Hughes. They're a good team. They've got depth.
They're a really solid team, and good coaching too. I do like Travis Green.
100%.
And it seems that he's a tough coach, fair coach, and understands how to coach the current generation of players. So we're both taking Vancouver in that one. Nick's got 3. I got 4 for Vancouver. Let's move on to probably the most interesting series of the entire qualifying round.
As it should be.
And this one is Calgary and Winnipeg. And Winnipeg gets the advantage here in goaltending, and I think that's kind of the easiest pick here. I'll give the advantage to Calgary in team defense, but then on the forward side, I like Winnipeg. I think ever since Calgary was beaten out last year by Colorado and Gaudreau didn't show up, and you didn't see a lot from Monahan, and you didn't see much from Bennett as well. I think
Avs shut him down.
spoken by an Avs fan there, but so I think I just haven't seen Gaudreau be the same player, and it's just one of those things where you got to learn to fight through it. Easy for me to say, sitting here in a desk chair, but the pro player has to learn to fight through it, and I think I didn't see anything from Gaudreau that would indicate that he's there yet. Again, maybe the break takes care of that. Who knows? But in this one, I do like Winnipeg. I see this going the distance. 5 games, got some overtime games in there. I really think this could just be a fantastic series.
I agree with you 100%. This series is going to be fun to watch. I think any Canadian fan should want this series to be well, just because it's 2 Canadian teams. Either way, there's going to be a Canadian team in the playoffs out of this. I lean towards Winnipeg as well, and it comes down strictly to goaltending. I think if Connor Hellebuck plays like he did during the regular season, guy held a .257 goals against average all year. Like, that's ridiculous. If he plays like he did during the regular season and they get any shred of defense in front of him, they're not getting beaten by Calgary. In fact, they might make a very long playoff run, and that's saying a lot for these play-in teams right away, that if their goalie gets really hot, I don't think many goalies in the play-in round other than Hellebuck could carry their team past the first round of the regular playoffs.
No, I totally agree with you on Hellebuck there, and it goes for any goalie. Get on a hot run, and they can take their team incredible places. I think when we get to the East, the same could be said about Carey Price. Just get hot, and you never know what can happen.
Exactly.
Yeah, as far as this series, it's amazing what Winnipeg has done with their defense, and a lot of that is on the coaching team as well, and the players for buying in. They had to rehaul their entire defense. I don't think they were where they expected to be at the beginning of the season defensively, but I mean, going back to the goal differential, which when you're talking playoffs, that's one of the key factors that I'm looking at. Winnipeg's at a +13, and Calgary is at a -5. And those teams are at in a minus for the goal differential always are red flags for me. And that combined with the goaltending, and I do like Winnipeg's forward group better, leads me to take Winnipeg in 5.
Absolutely. And I mean, you even look at that defense. Like, that defense has been coached up well. That the addition of Neil Pionk is underratedly amazing.
Yeah.
That was probably the best pickup all offseason.
It was a trade they needed to make. Like, they had to do something with their defense. They knew that, and they went ahead and did it. So it's just a solid pickup. And again, you got to look at the question: has the off time helped this team grow? Yeah. And it's going to be a question that's constantly, and we won't know the answers until everyone steps out on the ice. But how about, we're going to have hockey here? You would have to assume that you would hope that we're going to have hockey. Let's assume everything goes well and we have hockey. We're going to have hockey 4 games a night. We're going to have an afternoon game. We're starting at, there's a 6 o'clock game. We're going to have 2 West games, 2 East games.
No, it's 3 per day.
They're actually going 3 per day. Okay.
They're going 3 per day.
Perfect. That's exciting to hear too.
There's 6 games.
I've already warned my wife. Listen, when August 1st rolls around, I mean, just give me some space here and I'll be back. I'll come talk to you in mid-October. Everything will be fine.
In between periods, it's fine.
No.
Say hi between periods.
I can't promise in between periods. I'm just
not all of them.
I've blacked out this point of time. Listen, it's Hockey Fest, and this is
fair enough.
This is happening. So right now, I have to sit through just god awful shows just to earn the time, right? Got to earn the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So those are our picks for the Western Conference Qualifying Series. We'll get into the Eastern Conference next week. But coming up next, we do have to get into the round robin preview. That's the top 4 teams in the Western Conference. We'll do that next, and of course, provide our winners. Welcome back to 20 Minutes on Ice. We're looking at the Western Conference, and right now it's time to look at the round robin preview for the top 4 seeds. This is the St. Louis Blues, the Colorado Avalanche, the Vegas Golden Knights, and the Dallas Stars. They're going to play 1 game against each team, so each team plays 3 games. The winner of the round robin comes out as the top seed. You finish low, you come out as the 4th seed. Either way, you're going to have home ice advantage for the first round of the playoffs. So that kind of changes everything. These teams are not vying for the number 1 overall pick. So there's no really reason to think that why they should throw the series in favor of it. So we're not looking at that angle. But let's look. This is your Colorado Avalanche here. They're one of your teams in the NHL. Let's get that out of the way here on episode 1. I'm a Leafs fan. I know you're a Leafs fan, but you're also an Avalanche fan. You want to see both teams do extremely well. So everyone knows our biases coming out of the gate here. But I do like the Colorado Avalanche possibly coming out of this round robin as the number 1 seed.
I agree with you. You and me have talked about this before. I think Colorado surprised a lot of teams this year with how good they actually are, especially on the defensive end. Like, Makar took a huge step forward this year, and they got a bunch of young guys who came in and played above expectation on that defensive end and surprised a ton of people. And you look at that forward core, everyone knew that they were going to be good. No one expected them to be this good. They were 3rd in the league in goals for this year. Like, that's ridiculous. And they were tied for 5th for goals against. They only gave up 190 goals.
I'm looking at that. That is just, I highlighted that. That is a huge point for me. Plus 46 in the goal differential.
That's insane.
That's great offense with great defense. And I know Grubauer was supposed to be exceptional, and he went down for parts of the season. We talked about it. They had to go ahead and play Michael Hutchinson for a handful of games this season, which
was
will
12.
Which will
12
not
games.
be happening in
no
in the playoffs. The only way I see something like that happening, he's not even their backup, is he? He's their 3rd string.
He's their it's debatable whether he's actually the 3rd string, but
I don't
Pavel Francouz is the backup, and he had arguably a better season than Philip Grubauer did. In less games, he played 2 less games than Grubauer did. If we're counting starts, he played 5 less starts. He had 3 more wins. He had a .923 save percentage and a .241 goals against. Like, he stood out in his rookie year like a sore thumb in the goaltending ranks. Grubauer had a great year too, and that's the thing. They got great goaltending behind a very good defensive core, behind an exceptional forward group that no one expected.
I really like the Colorado's numbers, the fact that they're a young team. They have goaltending, they have defense, they have offense. It really looks like a good package this year. So they are really shining, especially as we go through this preview. Another team that is one to highlight, defending champion, St. Louis Blues. And what team gets 2 rests going in for a chance to defend the Stanley Cup championship? Like, if you went to St. Louis and said, after they won the Stanley Cup, okay, time to repeat next year. You're going to get this offseason, and then we're going to give you kind of a bonus offseason just before your playoff run starts. They would be feeling great. So
I think everyone on that team would be feeling great other than Jordan Binnington, because he probably just wanted to go all the way through like he had last year, from January all the way onwards, and just get into the playoffs. But
just get into a groove, yeah. But again, you run out of steam, right? Players don't know they've run out of steam until it happens. So
agreed.
St. Louis still has all the pieces there. They have goal scoring, not as much as Colorado, which is why I like Colorado to come out of this thing as the number 1 seed. But I like St. Louis as number 2. They still have great defense. I love their defensive unit. Periaco, Bowmister's not going to be playing, but Binnington and net, it's just, they're a fantastic group. Love them coming out as number 2. And that'll be fantastic to see how that St. Louis-Colorado matchup goes in the round robin, because you could almost sit there and say, this is a potential Western Conference final preview. And you're 100%. Getting it before the playoffs start. So
and that's the thing. And I agree with you 100%. These are going to be the top 2 teams coming out of this round robin. I'm biased, so I want Colorado to be number 1, but I could see it going either way. I really could. I can't pick one or the other. And then you look at the other 2 teams, and I think they're that next step. Like, don't get me wrong, Vegas and Dallas are good teams. I just think they're that next step below where Colorado and St. Louis have been all year. I think you could throw Edmonton into that category as well as like the next group of teams. They just aren't on the same level, though, as Calgary and St. Louis have been all season long. And if they play anywhere close to where they did all season, they're the top 2 in the conference by far.
And I think going on to Vegas here, I just think you can put a star beside them as another one of those teams. Goalie gets hot and they can make a run. But I do have this feeling they made the coaching change in the middle of the season to Pete DeBoer. I still feel like there's going to be some sort of time that they need to get a little organized. I know they've had a lot of time to talk about it and possibly overthink it. So they're going to get on the ice, and that's going to still need time to adjust itself. And so that's why I see these guys coming out of the round robin as the number 4 seed. But again, Fleury gets hot. They're still an excellent team in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, I think Vegas actually comes out as 3, and the only reason I say that is because I just don't see Dallas being able to score enough goals to beat the other 3 teams in this round robin. Like, think about the goaltenders in the round robin. You have Jordan Binnington, who was unreal all year and unreal last year. You have the 2 goalies in Colorado, depending on who they start, because at this point they could start either and get great goaltending.
That's true.
And then you have Fleury, and who's backed up by Robin Lehner.
And right, like Bishop and Hudobin in Dallas.
And that's the thing. I think Bishop is a great goaltender too. I'm not saying that they don't have good goaltending in Dallas. My question becomes, do they have enough goal scoring to compete with the other teams? And that's why I think Dallas actually falls behind. Their defense is great. Their goaltending is great. It's just the goal scoring. They're more than 30 goals behind almost. I think it's 25 goals behind every single one of the other teams.
So they scored 180 compared to Colorado, who scored 237. So,
right. That's Colorado. But even if you look at the other teams, right? Like Vegas had 224 and St. Louis had 223.
Yeah.
So you're still like almost 30 goals behind every single team that you're competing against.
But defense wins championships, and it's said in
and all four have defense. So that's the other thing.
Yeah, it really could be incredible. And the caveat comes if one team is down, they've lost their first 2 games, and no need to risk injury. You can't get that first overall seed. You're not going to get that second. So 3 versus 4, it's kind of the same. So it more just becomes a preseason game at that point, a tune-up game.
Right.
That's where I think these round robins could lose a bit of their luster.
Agreed.
And I would assume they're just playing a regular 3-period game with an overtime and a shootout, as opposed to the qualifying series, which will be overtime until it stops.
We'd have to check that. We'll check that for next show for sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but I would assume so.
Yeah, and especially seeing as it's a round robin. I don't feel like the round robins are getting enough play, and that's probably because the teams are already in. But it's going to be
100%.
Those early games are definitely going to be excellent hockey. So just to wrap up the round robin, I got Colorado coming out first. I got St. Louis in the 2nd position. I like Dallas in the 3rd position. I'm not sold on Vegas in the round robin, so I got them coming out of the 4th position. Nick?
I'm gonna go with Colorado in number 1, but I'm saying 1A and St. Louis is 1B. I can see it going either way.
Yeah.
I have Vegas and then Dallas. So
perfect.
Yeah.
So it'll be fun to watch. That's our Western Conference preview. As we mentioned, it's a new season. This could all be done after the first 2 days as far as our predictions go. Everything could be turned on its head. There really is no way to predict what's going on, but we will try again next week with the Eastern Conference. But now it's time to hit the randomizer and see what we'll be playing this week. Today on 20 Minutes on Ice, we will be playing Who Am I? Essentially, This is 20 questions. I'll decide the hockey personality. And Nick, you have 20 questions to ask, and it can be any hockey personality, past, present, player, management, coach, someone to do with the game of hockey, not necessarily NHL either. So that's why you have 20 questions.
Oh my goodness.
Let's keep track of points here too. So we'll get something going.
Do something.
Yeah, we'll get a running tally going here. We have a few different games here planned for this segment. So we'll keep a running tally for the whole playoffs. Let's do the whole playoffs.
Deal.
And we'll come up with some sort of challenge as we go here.
Some sort of punishment.
Yep, the winner will get something. The loser will have to do something. So for 20 questions here, you get the 20 questions to guess who am I. Okay. You will get points based on how many questions you have remaining. So if you go down to the end, I'm going to do a tally. Yeah, if you go down to the end and you use your last question. You get 1 point if you guess my hockey personality.
So if I guess it before asking any questions, I get 20 points, right?
That's correct. Right off the
Okay, just
hop.
checking. Just checking.
They got to be yes or no questions. And if you don't get it, if I stump you, I get 5 points. So we'll keep a running tally here. We'll keep a running tally. Let's see here. Okay, I know who I'm going with here.
You screwed me, didn't you?
It's not. There is a theme. I will give you a small hint. There is a theme to this hockey personality. I'll keep track of how many questions you asked here. I got the trusty pen ready and the trusty
I got mine
notepad.
too. I'm just so I tally off. Okay.
All right.
All right. Let's go right into it.
First question.
Is it a player?
Yes.
Okay. Boom. That's a positive.
Good start.
Is it a current player?
No.
Damn.
So it's only like a few thousand players to choose from there.
1,000. This could go back to like the 1910s, right? I'm screwed.
It doesn't. There's another hint.
That was a free answer. That was a free answer.
Player did not play in the 1910s.
Okay. Did he play after the 90s? Like 90s, 1990 or after?
Yes.
Beautiful. Western Conference?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Not exclusively.
Not exclusively.
Yeah. Why am I helping you?
I don't know. Not exclusively.
You're up to 4 questions.
Did he play for the Edmonton Oilers?
No.
Wow. Oh, I think I might know it. Okay.
He already knows it.
I think I know, but I'm going to ask one more question.
Okay.
Did he play for Calgary?
No.
Oh, okay. Thought it was a Ginla there for a second.
What's the theme with Iginla?
I just know you. Okay. I know you liked Iginla.
Who doesn't like Iginla? If you don't like Jerome Iginla, you're either an Edmonton Oilers fan or just.
No, Oilers fans like Iginla. I've talked to many Oilers fans. They like Iginla.
Exactly. Who could hate Iginla?
Okay.
6 questions.
I have 5, but okay.
I'm cheating.
I lost a question. Forward?
No.
Okay. Defense?
No.
Perfect. Okay. That helps a lot, actually. Okay. Goalie who played in the West and the East, not on Calgary or Edmonton.
I'll say primarily the West.
Primarily the West. Did they play for Anaheim?
No.
Okay. I saw the jersey, maybe. Damn.
Okay, I'll throw you a hint. He did
No.
play.
No.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I got to have.
Your face looked like you needed a hint.
No. I'm just trying to go through. There's a theme. What the hell is the theme?
It's a small theme. Question. Don't worry about the theme quite yet. It's a small theme.
I know. Primarily Western Conference.
Goalie. Played in the 90s.
In the 90s.
Yeah, a little bit in the 2000s, but mostly in the 90s.
Oh, crap.
Hell of a 90s goalie, too.
See, that's the problem. I was like 5 at the oldest in the 90s. 4, sorry. So I'm kind of screwed on this.
Well, I wasn't born in the 60s, but I know who Sawchuk and Bauer and Hall were. So
yeah, I get that. Thank you. Yeah.
Question number 10. Go ahead, Nick.
Is he top 10 in wins?
I don't know. I don't have that information in front of me.
All right, invalid question. We'll come back to it.
It doesn't count. Overall wins, regular season, 450 plus.
Okay. Did he play for Colorado?
No.
Okay. Just making sure.
That was question number 10.
Yeah.
And I'm not counting the wins question.
Chris Osgood.
Not Chris Osgood. That's question number 11.
Okay.
I mean, you could go with your remaining questions. You could go through 90s goalies here.
I could. Said he played mostly in the West.
Mostly in the West. I'll throw you a hint. He did have a cup of tea with a California team.
He had a cup of tea with a California team.
Yep.
Ooh, a whole cup of tea?
Maybe
just
two.
One?
Maybe 2 cups.
God. This is problematic. Did he play for Chicago?
Yes.
Yes. There we go. Here we go. That narrows it down a little.
I feel like you should have it at this point.
I should, but I don't.
Come on.
Because I suck at this game.
90s goalie who played for Chicago with more than 450 wins in his career. I'll give you $1 billion if you get it right now. You don't know that clue, do you?
No.
Someone's screaming at you right now. Who knows?
Oh, wait. Is it Belfort?
Yeah, it's Belfort.
Oh,
way to go,
thank God.
Fantastic.
I had to think about that for a second. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Even after offering you $1 billion, you still didn't get it. All right, that counts as one.
I don't know the reference. It's not fair.
He got arrested while he was drunk and offered the cops $1 billion to let him go.
Good for him.
I mean, that's one of the times he got arrested while drunk. There was other times. Let's see. By my count, you had 7 questions remaining. There were some hints there, but it's the first episode.
So just give me 5 points. I'll take 5.
5 points for Nick. Put it up in the tally. 5 points for Nick. And next week, whatever comes up, we'll have to give me the chance to get some points on the board there. But
for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So, there's the final horn. That is the conclusion to this 20 minutes on ice. We hope everybody enjoyed the episode. Nick, I had a great time here. I hope you did too.
Absolutely. Love talking to you about hockey, man.
All right, perfect. So next week on the show, as I mentioned, we're going to be previewing the Eastern Conference Qualifying Series as well as the round robin for the top 4 seeds. You can follow us on Twitter at 20 Minutes on Ice. Be sure to provide your feedback. Let us know who you think is going to win the qualifying series and the round robin. Always, you can check us out, garagedoorsports.com. We're under the shows tab. That's where you can find the video feed. This show is going to be up eventually on iTunes and Spotify and all over the place, wherever you get your podcasts. So be sure whenever you find it, you like it, you subscribe, you leave us a rating, leave us a comment. And as always, share the show. That helps grow the show. So if everyone could share it with a friend, we would love that. And then that helps us bring you better content. So thank you for listening and goodbye, everybody.